Hello, and welcome to another episode of Nuffink and Like It, the podcast that sort of trawls through the FWA on television. I am Kieran Lefort, and joining me as always, the romantic evil and the saviour of the damned, Andy Ogden. Andy, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Kieran. Nice to see you once again.
Yeah, hasn't been long, has it? We saw each other in person quite recently.
We did, mate.
I did think about introducing you as Gabriel Kidd's favourite wrestling fan.
You know what? The rivalry was renewed as he gave the cutthroat sign to me and threatened to kill me.
It'll end in a death match one day.
It will.
Yeah. And he's hot, he's spicy, he tastes great, and he's everybody's favourite wrestling fan, Eddie Sideburns. Eddie, how you doing?
I'm doing. I'm really good. This is. I've got fear of missing out when I saw the photos of all you guys all together. And everyone in the balcony watching some Lycra. But I was like, I'll just wait my turn, and then we're going to talk about British wrestling in the 2000s. And I'm like, well, that'll make me feel a bit more warm and comfortable again. So yeah, I'm glad to be here as always.
You'll come down for FWA one night stand.
Oh, listen, see when it finally when everything aligns together and there's like an FWA reunion show. All three of us have to go regardless of what happens. We have to be there. We have to be in that. We have to be in that ring. And do you know what they have to do? They have to pick a tag match with Ulf Herman and Bozilla against I don't know who, but they just need to do that because it'll sell everything out. Given the fact that she's become so over. Yeah, she's become so over the course of this weekend since Marigold have done their opening show. But yeah,
you've seen the pictures of him as well, like the long grey hair, like basically looking like he lives out in the woods and like would defend his home against terrorists. Like he looks like the hero in a home invasion movie, like if it starred as German woodsman.
Yeah, it's like if you did like a third movie of Hobo with a shotgun.
Yes.
And it's like a cleaned up version, but it's over. Oh. I saw the one of Bozilla, fireman's carrying him. And yes, I was like, mate, Ulf still got it. He just, look at the smile on him.
I thought he looked like a Hench Steptoe, didn't I?
Yeah.
Don't leave me, Harold.
I've never seen Hobo with a shotgun, but it's because of that movie that I got to meet Rutger Hauer. He's a top dude.
He's great. The movie's great.
Yeah. So we need to talk about a lot of old wrestling. I had a look back at the archived FWA website, and episode 24 with the Shane and Drew match was being pushed in April 2002 as the season 2 finale. So I guess, we said there had been like 3-month gaps in between TV episodes. They knew about them at the time and were formatting things into seasons. And then there was another news article like confirming that there was a third series to start in July, which would have been episodes 25 through 30. So we're going to be talking about 29, 30, and then what they called the finale. Eddie's despairing already, and we are 5 minutes in.
It doesn't even feel like a finale. It feels like a fucking brand new world that we've jumped into out of nowhere.
I know. We'll get there. So let's finish off the old world first. Episode 29, taped December the 14th, 2001. Aired July the 29th, 2002.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. 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 And they were having shows in this time. Like they'd had like half a dozen shows in between. So we open with Flash Barker and Drew McDonald leaning casually on a railing in an echoey stairwell. Flash asks who Chris Harvard is, and Drew says he's a no-good new school punk who wasn't good enough for the WWF, and now he thinks he can come over here and beat us. And they then take a long time to say, no chance.
Kieran, I'm surprised you could decipher what these two were saying, because
I had to watch this twice. It was so echoey.
There's a great moment where the man says, "I'm going to put him in a body bag," and I'm like, right, okay. But there's like it is like an echoey corridor, and then they suddenly start talking. It's like they're just talking to each other normally, and then they both realize the camera's there, and they just start looking at it straight. Yeah. And I was like, right, okay, this is a very interesting way to open up your show. Okay. And again, it's FWA. Every episode we seem to watch seems to just have kind of indecipherable kind of audio.
I'll tell you what, though, it just made me think these at the top of the stairwell. Made me think of my days as a prefect at high school, trying to stop the bullies coming up. And you can imagine if you saw these two at the top of the stairs, you just wouldn't bother.
No. You were a prefect.
I was a prefect.
You were a good boy at school, were you?
Yeah.
I was a library monitor at school.
So Kieran, my prefect duty was me and two of the other geeks in the school. And you know what? Everyone got past us, but it was always good on like a Tuesday or Thursday when we were prefecting, as one of the psycho deputy head teachers were around the corner. So if we let anyone up, we knew if they went right, Mr. Psycho deputy head would be there and he'd bollock them, and we'd be safe.
We get a flashback to the end of the Shane versus Drew match from 5 episodes ago, with the Robbie Brookside run-in, the Flash Barker and Shane Security run-in and turn. We then get the announcement of Chris Nowinski as Shane's partner and them running off the old school with chairs. And then into our only match on this episode. Drew McDonald and Flash Barker with The Boys versus Alex Shane and Chris Harvard, who we will better know now as Chris Nowinski.
Mr. Head Injuries, mate. Mr. Head Injuries.
The same night that this aired on My TV in Portsmouth, not my personal TV, the channel was called My TV, Nowinski was losing in a whopping 1 minute and 49 seconds on Raw to The Undertaker.
Fucking hell.
If you listen to Mark Priest, this is the Battle of the Also-Rans. So he calls Drew McDonald the guy who lost the hair versus hair match to Big Daddy.
Kieran, as soon as I heard this, I was like searching YouTube for this match.
You find it?
No, I didn't. Oh, my
house
word.
show only.
But I went past a load of thumbnails with Drew McDonald with hair, and he was a handsome bastard, weren't he?
He was, yeah. He calls Flash the guy who was on the British Olympic karate team. He was only a reserve, but he was on the team. And then one of their opponents is the guy who didn't win Tough Enough. So it's a bunch of people who aren't good enough. They start with the old heels suckering the baby faces into an appeal battle on the middle rope and then attack them. Alex backdrops Flash into the crowd and they go off fighting all around the building. Yes, Eddie.
Yeah. There's the commentary bit where Mark Priest says Drew McDonald makes his entrance, and this is what I thought he said. I am bald, this is me, I am ferocious. Do not make fun of my bald taint or I'll shove my fist down your throat.
Not taint.
I thought he said taint. And I was like, where on earth that's coming from?
I know that leotard is a little close cut, but we don't get to see that. No, he says he's bald pate, his head.
Pate. Okay.
One thing as well, lads, before we get into the match, did you notice ChrisHarvard.net and AlexShane.com?
Yes.
So this was at the point where the FWA was starting to make websites for people. They didn't sell T-shirts until 3 or 4 months after this show happened. So like they were just starting to get into like merchandising and like branding and marketing like the individual guys. So two of them go off on a fight all over the place. It's Alex and Flash like battle all over the place, whereas McDonald and Nowinski are fighting in the ring. Flash deals with Alex on the stage and then comes to the record. All this mayhem, and he comes to his corner for a legal tag.
Yeah.
As Alex then stumbles back into the ring, we see the genius hive mind that is the boys are standing in the babyface corner rather than behind Flash and Drew.
There's moments where like Shane is just walking past these guys and it's like they just don't do a thing. I do want to also say I'm very appreciative of Styx selling his injuries for a match that supposedly happened last week.
Yes.
But he was still like, oh, yeah, oh, my neck. And I'm just like, and then they do a bit where Priest goes like, oh, they lost in the last week, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, right, okay. I just love that stuff. It's just kind of silly shit.
Yeah. Nowinski manages a slam, misses an elbow drop, so Barker just clotheslines his face off and takes Drew, who shocked me by coming very close to managing a drop kick. The heels do a load of double teaming. They suck at Alex in to distract the ref. Nowinski ducks a Barker clothesline, hits a back suplex, and we go off to the break.
Kieran,
yes,
I was going
there's
to
lots
mention
of finger waving here.
One of my notes was
yes.
Mark Priest is going full Eddie Sideburns here as he bollocks the ref.
I mean, to be fair, by the time that like there's so many notes of annoying refereeing shit here in these entire episodes, there's like Shane just leaps over and Andrew Coyne has no chance. Yeah. So like by the time like he's supposed to try and hold them back, he's supposed to hold Shane back. Like he's already in essence there.
Yeah. I've heard Alex talk about this stuff before. He's always to the referees like, you have to hold me back. I am bigger than you. If you don't hold me back, and do it properly, I'm just going to bulldoze you because otherwise I look stupid.
Again, the referee stuff, it's difficult as well. Like it's you kind of, because you're supposed to be a smaller figure than the wrestlers. You're not supposed to be a tall figure over them. If you are, then unless it's Rey Mysterio, kind of a very difficult thing. But you do have to be that kind of like, physical without actually being too properly physical, I guess. And I mean, it's difficult, but like there are moments, like again, they will make mistakes. There was a moment as well where like I think there was a crossbody before this.
Yes.
And it was just it was such the Harvard guy, Nowinski just coming in, and some of the stuff he was doing, you could clearly see he was still obviously a little bit green, because I think clearly Tough Enough was like the first wrestling thing he'd probably done. No.
So he did have a little bit of experience before that. Legitimately, he's been wrestling 6 months at this point. The earliest match I can find for him is like the summer of 2001.
Right, okay. Well, that makes sense. And also I kind of got relieved when just going a bit where they cut back to that promo a while and they were doing like, and he was talking about, and he mentioned like Triple H and all that stuff, and the crowd popped for it. I'm like, oh, for God's sake. And like 2024 eyes, I'm like, I don't think you get quite that pop these days. No, but then, but it seemed like, again, also the size of him, like the height of him compared to some, again, it's one of those things, what we've seen before, when these Americans come in to the FWA shows, they look the part, they act the part, they fucking look miles and miles better than some of these guys. And it's just, and it's a very much obviously a great quality. I have also just searched up chrisharvard.net and realized there's an undated question section, because obviously I think you mentioned it before, and one of his questions is, besides WWE, what is your favorite fed to work for? I would have to say Frontier Wrestling Alliance in London. I was there for 5 days, and the guys were really great about showing me around and helping me out. And then the next question is, are you Polish? Are there any Polish wrestlers in the WWE?
Well, I was a big fan of Ivan Putski back in the day.
Yes, I'm Polish, and right now the only one I can think of is RVD.
Yes, because his name is Satsowski, isn't it? Yeah. Something like that, yeah.
But again, that's the thing. Good to have those websites as well. So,
yeah. So we come back from the ad in time for the hot tag, as I didn't put Alex runs wild. I put Alex flaps wild in the ring. He's all over the place. His feet, talking of like Rob Van Dam, like his feet are everywhere, and like his clotheslines are weird. It's so bizarre. He clotheslines, slams, the check out from the neck up, and the middle rope leg drop. But just like it's UWA Wrestling Rampage, he misses the flipping leg drop off the middle rope.
He'll never learn, will he?
No, and then just like it's a 2007 cartel match, it's time to get heat on the other babyface. There's a weird spot where Alex takes a clothesline but stays up. There's an edit, and then he just hits a hip toss on Drew and the Shane Station on Barker, who's gone up to the middle rope. I don't think that Drew realised he wasn't supposed to hit that clothesline, and I think Alex forgot to duck it. So Flash Van Dam, though, quickly comes back, hanging Shane over the railing, hits a leg drop to the back of his head off the apron. but it's on the babyface side, so Harvard attacks him, but here comes Drew, and they're brawling all over the place. I know this is old, but did you see the bloke who had the Super 8 cine camera at ringside? There's a fella shooting this on old 8mm film. I would love to see that footage.
He went over like a bloody hood or something, like, an old wedding photographer.
The giant flash on a stick.
There was a great bit where they go. It's a bit we're going to cover in a little bit, but there's another bit where I just thought there was when they go to the balcony spot, or when because you can't have an Alex Shane spot without going to a balcony session. It's a big one, and there's this kid. As they're about to do some spot of the thing, and then it's just this kid with a drink who just runs towards them and just stops and watches, and then just goes just takes a drink and he's just watching what's going on. And I'm like, is no one holding people back from going to the balcony?
No, not really. No. So Alex and Flash battle into the echoey staircase from earlier. It was at this point I remembered I filmed a show in this building. The theatre part of it is up on the 3rd or 4th floor, and there's no lift, so you've got to get the ring up that fucking staircase. Jesus. And then get it down again. It was horrible. Eddie, I wondered if you had any comment on it's Drew McDonald's to crawl like a dog, a Scottish dog, a Scotty dog, if you will.
Mark Priest, we're going to get onto it more about commentary and how I feel about it over the course of these episodes, especially that finale. But my God, Mark Priest was annoying me at certain points. I mean, he did a good, decent job of building this whole up and explaining why Harvard was standing up to the old school and because he's because he did in America and stuff like that. And then there's just certain moments where he's he's just lost and he annoys me, and I just I wish you were not on this. And then, as we'll discuss later on, there's moments where I'm please come back. I miss you. And then I'm questioning everything.
Eddie, it's one point when he gets the names mixed up, when Dean comes out and he starts calling him Dean Richards, the former Spurs centre half.
And he's I can't remember. And there's also so I think it's when we get to the whole Stramash after, which feels like a Raw main event ending from the Attitude Era again, because it seems what they very much like to go through. He doesn't even mention what's his name? Scott Parker. He doesn't even mention him, and he's coming out there, and I'm just is he just forgetting everything? He's it's Nikita, and then you can clearly see some ponytails coming out and doing something. It's it's Nikita, and I'm mate, do you not fucking watch and realize that Scott Parker's there trying to attack, not just Nikita doing all this, mate? Come on.
We are getting way ahead of ourselves here. So Harvard slams Drew on the floor. Shane appears on the balcony and threatens to dive off, but Barker nutshots him as the boys swarm Nowinski. I asked around about the boys. Deep Throat number 2 says that Styx was called that because that was his nickname before wrestling from being a drummer. I have never seen him play the drums. Then all I remember about Pliers was that his real name was Pat and he was a very nice bloke.
Pat Pliers.
Paul Styx and Pat Pliers. As for the other two, who were called, what were they? They were Creed and Pickles. What were they? Slash and Creed.
Yeah, no, it was Creed and Shakademus, weren't it?
Yes, yeah. I asked 2 different people who were around at this time, and they went, I had no idea who these men were. I don't remember them at all. So no dive as Harvard and McDonald go back to the ring, and the crowd are chanting for Harvard. So he's clearly doing something right. Nowinski dumps McDonald on his shoulder with something that started like a Samoan drop but ended halfway into an air raid crash. So I'm going to call it a Samoan air disaster, and makes a cover. Andrew Coyne, the referee, makes it to a count of 2 for getting pulled out of the ring by Dean Ayers. You have 4 boys around the ring, and they needed Dean to come out and do this spot.
The Lord is testing me with Dean Ayers during these 3 episodes. The Lord is testing me.
So Ayers and Coyne get into a shoving match. Johnny Storm comes herring out the back and attacks Dean, pummeling him to the back. Flash and Alex return from the wilderness and are suddenly the legal men. Shane gets Barker up for the one-night stand, but we cut to the back of Justin Richards in the aisle. And as Alex gets too close to the ropes, Justin punches Alex in the plums right in front of the ref. Also running in at this time is Drew's valet's Vixen, who gets into the ring and stands there. I think Justin was supposed to do the distracting, and she was meant to run in and like low blow Alex from behind, but she was late and Richards just improvised. So as you mentioned, yeah, Scott Parker runs out and tackles Richards, and Nikita pulls Vixen out to the floor. You have to watch Vixen and the still very green Nikita trying to brawl at the back of the wide shot and then up the aisle. Oh, there is like the lamest forearms I've ever seen. Like, they don't know how to grab each other, nothing like that.
Like a couple of bushwhackers, weren't they?
Flash hits the flash in the pan on Alex, but Shane gets his foot on the ropes. The new breed hit the ring and give Barker total elimination right in front of the ref.
The ref just doesn't care at this point because I'm going to get even more angry at this point.
But he's not doing like the exasperated, oh, for fuck's sake stuff. He's just standing and watching it all.
It's like he again, it's the old cliche when the face tries to get involved while something's happening, the ref goes, oh, no, stopping everything and goes at all lengths. Whereas when it's the heels, you kind of have to go, well, come on, guys, just stop it. And you're not really putting in about 5% energy, whereas with the big faces, it's like 75% energy. But it's just, again, it's a Stramash. And again, the thing is, it's a full-on Stramash at this point with everything that's going on. Yeah. So he's lost control clearly.
And we're not even halfway through it yet. So Sticks and Pliers run in and bundle the eliminators to the floor, and they then all brawl off on the crowd. Oh, through the crowd, not on them. Alex misses a second Shane Station on Barker and goes over to the floor. In the ring, McDonald hits the Celtic Crusher on Harvard, and Jody Fleisch runs in and breaks up the cover, again in front of the referee. He takes a backflip bump off a clothesline, but comes back with a high kick from the apron and a springboard spinning leg lariat. Harvard makes the cover. Dino Scarlo runs in and breaks it up. Jody pulls him out of the ring and hits a beautiful springboard shooting star press to the floor.
Yes, wonderful.
Incredible. And then, for added sauce, a moonsault off the railings in the aisle. Robbie Brookside has, shall we say, upgraded from a cricket bat to a snooker cue. I don't know, maybe it'll be a croquet mallet next. But he hits Drew by mistake and gets a lariat from Nowinski for his troubles. Nowinski and Drew battle up the aisle as Flash Barker gets back in the ring, but here's Doug Williams, who hits the Revolution DDT, and Alex flops into the cover to get the pin. I called this an entertaining bad match. Like, this is the beginnings of ALEX SHANE's overbooked walk and brawl style. Never more has he looked like a Great Dane in Lycra to me. He is like just all big paws flying everywhere. And I found it really funny that just 6 months in, Chris Nowinski looked more polished and crisp than Alex Shane, who's been doing this for about 5 years. There were some good ideas, I think. So I like Nowinski showing up in colour matched gear to Alex's.
Yes.
I liked the idea of it ending up as a pitched battle between the two factions. But there's two things I think in particular would have made this better. Make it a no DQ tornado match, mostly so the ref doesn't look like an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And this should have been on the next episode.
Yeah,
this should have been the season finale. This is episode 29 of 30, so there's still more to come after this.
Swap it with Jody and Justin. Yeah, I could see that. It would be much more.
Yeah.
I think as well, one of the things is I liked about it was it was all out a kind of Stramash and all these things are happening and it was going quite quick and stuff like that. And yes, if it had been a tornado tag with no DQ, then it would make so much more easier for these things to happen. Yeah. But again, they've never really, I mean, they've only done it the odd occasional time where they've announced what the stipulation and what the thing is.
We have seen like unannounced I Quit and Falls Count Anywhere matches before, haven't we, on this show?
But Eddie, Eddie, you've got to be in the referee's corner here. It's at the referee's discretion how far it goes.
There's never been a more discreet referee than Andrew Coyne in this match.
There's discretion and there's letting someone away with using a snooker cue at a point.
There's the question, though. There's the question, Eddie. What would you rather take, a snooker cue or a cricket bat?
Oh, cricket bat.
Really?
Cricket bat all day. Yeah, I'd take a cricket bat. I wouldn't take a snooker cue. I was very close to my dream of Dino Scarlo holding that snooker cue, because then it would have been the perfect image for like my dart snooker player-esque gimmick that Dino Scarlo could do. It would be very great, especially if he like takes a break and then sits in the corner, takes a sip of water, and then stands back up with the snooker cue, like he's Steve Davis in like the '85 World Championship final. This. If you had done like a brawl at the end of, like, say you did the match that was on the next show, where it was New Breed versus New School versus Old School, and then you did a brawl, and then you're like, oh, we're going to this next week and stuff like that, then I kind of think, yeah, that works fine. Having this all on your second to last show, just kind of felt a bit too much.
So this was the main event of the live show. This did go on last on the night.
Okay, that makes sense.
To me, it just felt like it should cap off the season.
I would say for myself, I wrote a page and a half of notes on this match. It shows how much I loved it. You know how much I love Alex Shane matches.
Yeah, I thought you two would be giving this like 4 stars.
I'm very close.
3.5 stars I went on this masterpiece.
As much as it's a Stramash, 4.25. Just for sure.
You're both crazy.
It was stuff like the balcony, spot, what they were ready to do. I did put in me textbook Alex. It's just all the bollocks and run-ins. It's just entertaining. The crowd are into it. That's what I want. It kept me engaged so much. I did 2 page notes on it.
I liked Priest going on about who the legal man was and doing, I don't know who the legal man is.
Yeah, I like if it's no DQ tornado match, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
if you count all 4 boys, 16 people interfere in this match.
And why on earth has no one been ejected yet? Like, come on. Like, clearly there's enough is enough at some point. And then Andrew Coyne's just like, nope, you all get involved. I don't care.
Yeah. So there are some celebrations, and Doug and Alex tentatively shake hands. I'm not sure why it's so tentative, as they were happy to be heels together, barely selling Schamberg's spear back on episode 6. But
Doug wearing the FWA shirt as well. I like that. That was a good wee kind of because he's the anarchist and he's going to destroy the company and stuff like that. And then there he is wearing an FWA shirt coming out of health. He's a company man. Yeah. But I get they're heels. They were heels before, but because Doug is now just like an insane anarchist, like you don't know whether to trust him or not. You don't know what he's going to do.
We've talked about this before. It's a nickname that never suited him. They did the most with it in UWA.
He's the most gentlemanly guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I always liked his Ring of Honor name, which is the Human Torture Device.
That was
way better,
isn't it?
Yeah. So, Frontier Wrestling episode 30, again taped December the 14th, 2001, aired August the 5th, 2002.
Fucking hell.
We are almost 8 months behind. We get a recap of Dean Ayers and Justin Richards bullying Jane Charles and Nikita, with Johnny Storm making the save, and then straight into our first match, which is Scotty Rock versus Jack Xavier with Cammy.
Unbelievable, Jeff.
Yeah,
I called opening up to the Vicar of the FWA, Dean Ayers, and his misogyny ways, and the promo of Jane Charles, because honestly, like, I know it's not supposed to, but it just looked like he's a fucking character in a fucking BBC male version of Vicar of Dibley.
The story they're telling on commentary is that Scotty's been hired by Mark Sloan and James Ty to sort out Jack Xavier, and him beating Ty on episode 22 that aired almost 5 months ago was his audition as their hitman.
Kieran, I thought he's been hired as a just incredible impersonator.
Well, I wrote the closest thing to actual wrestling gear in this match are Scotty Rock's knee pads, because these two look like they've just come from doing the same match as Justin Competent and Mikey Shipwreck on a tribute show.
I put we have a mind meld here, because I put this is Aldi, Mikey Whipwreck, and Just Incredible. Because honestly, or if you like shrunk a Stone Cold Steve Austin action figure, and you sold off as Just Incredible at the boots at the car boot sale. Jesus, this felt like they'd both watched DCW quite a lot and decided these are the guys they want to be to get into this. It was also like Birmingham versus London being like a very kind of like...
There was lots of talk of Scotty Rock being from Bethnal Green, but I don't know about you, Andy. I didn't see him at the Lucha on Sunday.
Did I thought no?
No. Jack Xavier's shine basically consists of reversing chin locks into arm ringers before Rock just batters him for a solid 2 minutes. Jack eventually, via the magic of a lot of cuts, turns a wheelbarrow into what would become his signature rolling release X-Plex. And to me, it's funny that I still hear it called the X-Plex today, even when other people do it. But I'd never seen anyone do it before Jack Xavier. And I wonder if that move in its name has been the mark he has left on wrestling, but very few people know it.
Yeah,
it's just wild that, like I said, like you said, wrestling continuity and stuff, and obviously people have probably watched that, then used that, then when they've asked what it's called, X-Plex, and they go, why is it called the X-Plex? And no one's probably mentioned it, but really at the heart, it's like, Jack Xavier, he's a savior.
Yeah. Rock's reversal out of a powerbomb somehow into a Fujiwara armbar, I thought was quite nice.
Yes, loved it. He was doing a lot of good work on working, the whole story being of the arm working.
Yeah, he then backdrops Xavier over the top rope with a loud thud and squashes him with a flip dive. Xavier ducks out of the way of something, sending Rock into the ring post and fetches a chair from under the ring. He puts it on its side on the apron, and as he's looking for something else, Scotty baseball slides it super hard into the side of his head. Fuck me, this looked really violent. Jag gets rolled back into the ring, and he is gushing blood from his head. Rock goes up top, but heroic babyface Cammy crotches him, and once Jack knocks him back into the ring, runs in with a sliding kick to the bollocks. I told you, it's the only move we're going to get to see her do on this show. Again, she is the babyface. Jack Xavier then hits the Xaviator, the Styles Clash, and gets the pin with his feet under the ropes. That's another one for Ref Watch. Better than the Rocks versus Ty Borefest, but it really fitted like Andy's formula of guy gets beaten up, hits one move and wins.
Yeah, I had 3 notes here. Spunky, Chunky, Funky, Monkey.
Yeah.
Which Priest calls him on commentary. Sweet Baby Jesus and the Orphans.
Yeah.
Which, oh, God, he overdid this here, did Priest. And also... Xavier's other half has questionable fashion choices. 3/4 length jeans and a boob tube. She looked terrible.
Don't forget, this was 2001, and this is what people who are into rock and or metal dressed like in 2001.
To be honest, Kieran, that I'd started going out, practically around about then in Chicago, Rocking Berry. I didn't see any of 3/4 length jeans and boot shoes on ladies. I was probably going to the wrong clubs in Bury, but it was all right. But you couldn't get away from these two looking like complete and up jobbers.
No, but like this was the era of like the cheap indie. Like we're going to get into very soon everybody wearing pleather. Like this show is going to get a whole lot shinier.
The women's division, has, for FWA has started off so well with, Nikita and,
Yep. Nikita who keeps getting beaten up and Cammy who just does sliding kicks to the bollocks.
Cammy who does a sliding kick to the bollocks. Vixen who just stands there and stares.
Yeah.
Gone. I miss the days of that woman who came out with, redacted on episode 3, 4, 5, one of them.
Do we need Pippa Levin back?
No comment on those ones. Come on now.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about that. What was when the Dominator came out and he had a,
Oh
woman
yeah, he
there,
did. Yeah.
and then
The
never saw them
cameraman
again.
was practically trying to impregnate her. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
that storyline, he had to go to his own home planet and stuff like that. But
the women haven't had a good time of it so far on this show.
no, really has not.
No.
This was okay. It was just, I
Yeah.
mean, the cut to the head kind of woke me up a little bit because I was almost.
I think it
half
woke
ready
everybody
to go.
up.
And then I'm like, okay, maybe he's not that bad. And then when they roll him into the ring, I'm like, oh, and then sweet baby Jesus, you're like,
My last note on this is holding his shoulder and bleeding all over the place. Xavier looks more like he's just been through a window than the 6-minute wrestling match. Ad break. I missed the single screen ads for the CD, the website, and the upcoming shows in Portsmouth that the Blue Meanie's going to no-show. And then we get Justin Richards versus Johnny Storm. Richards is shaking his head as Johnny's entrance encompasses him heading out into the crowd to high-five people. And when Storm finally makes it into the ring, AS has the mic and confronts him. He is battling the what treatment. He offers Johnny the chance to walk away, and he says, you like to sing and dance, but you can't dance with a broken leg, and you can't sing if you've been screaming, I quit. Storm, of course, being a massive coward, just walks out, and that's the end of the show. I'm just kidding. He stays. Dean sets himself up on a chair in the aisle to watch the match, and he tells the camera that a chair is meant for sitting on and not for swinging at someone's head. Write that down.
Mark Priest said something that I didn't understand. He said something about could be San Francisco in the 1960s, but it's not. It's acting. And I was like, what do you mean by that?
Who was he talking about? I remember the line, but I can't remember who he was talking about.
And I felt Justin and Dean already getting the in-the-ring treatment was just kind of like, obviously, we need to save time and stuff like that. The red does not suit the heel gimmick. Maybe it's just me. I'd probably...
Well, you are heavily invested in Justin Richards.
I'm a big fan of Justin Richards. I still don't know why he is turned heel. There's not been any kind of other reason other than he just turned up. But
no, he's just like, he has an old school... He's a young man who has an old school sensibility, I think is like his thing.
What's it? An old head on young shoulders.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
I think as well. I think this match opened up with the kind of towel treatment happening. It was like slapping about the towel.
Yes.
Eddie, were you thinking like Uther off The Simpsons there? We're like, don't.
It's that moment where Martin Prince is the last one left in the pool, and the pool's broken down, and then the towel just gets yanked off, and he's like, oh. But I just felt like, because the feud they're doing, like, you'd want to try and get away from this, like, kind of try and make it a little bit serious, but then they're doing the whole, like, slapping about.
Yeah, but it kind of it sets up Johnny as like the cheeky chappy baby face, and Richards as the more serious heel, I think. So Johnny gets so Richard sneaks up and tries to choke Storm with the towel, but Johnny's too quick. He gets it off him, and like he gives him the no, I'm full of chocolate treatment on the arse, and then clotheslines him with it.
Please don't eat me.
Yeah. Justin powders out. Johnny wipes his backside with a towel and then sprints up the corner into this awesome flip dive onto Richards on the outside.
Sweet baby Jesus.
Yes, indeed. That one was justified, I think. This is it's a great dive.
Yeah.
After Johnny celebrates, Justin takes over, kneeing Storm in the head as he tries a shoulder block through the ropes. Guillotine leg drop over the middle of the rope, a bulldog, and because he's old school, a long grinding headlock on the mat. He rope burns Storm's eyes on the top rope and goes back to the headlock, taking great joy in taunting the fans who are calling him boring and Lionel Richie.
Oh, Kieran.
Which then formed the basis of most of Mark Priest's commentary for the rest of this match.
One of the lines here is Priest mentions about computers and says the only computer Richards would use is a Commodore. And you know what? I was fucking howling at this.
There's he not only uses comments, songs of Lionel Richie in his references, he also references Wet, Wet, Wet at one point. He just like goes, I feel it in my he can feel it in his fingers, he can feel it in his toes, and I'm just like, what?
But that's a cover. Who did the original? That's not a Wet, Wet, Wet original. It's just their version was massively popular.
Probably
Yeah,
I can't remember who did the original version of Love Is All
See
Around.
if it's Lionel Richie, I'll die. It'll be very funny. The Trogs.
Oh, really? Weird.
Yeah. But yeah, just interesting. Yeah, there's he when he also does about the rope burn to the eyes, he then says, ask Two-Face about this when he talks about acid attacks. But then he's like, but this isn't comics or something like this.
This isn't Batman. Yeah.
This isn't Batman.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark Priest, I'm gonna miss you soon.
So Richards and AS combine to use like simple, basic, well-executed heel stuff. They keep control till Johnny back suplexes out of a chin lock and squishes Justin in the corner with a somersault body block and a Bronco Buster.
Yeah.
There's a nice top rope moonsault, but only gets a 2 count. For Richards ducks a load of stuff during a rope running sequence and goes back to the headlock. Johnny Storm then does our favourite thing. He channels the spirit of all-star wrestling, clapping while in an apparently agonising headlock. Before escaping and decking the ref with a super kick when Richards lamely pushes him into its path.
Such meh. Good sell from the ref, but just such a meh way to get into that. Fucking hell.
Both of them then managed to tread on the referee or kick him while they set up and botched the super rewind Hurricane Rana. We got 2 good ones, lads. I don't think we ever get another one that goes right.
It sort of like saved it, didn't it, with this super rewinder? It's like one leg managed to...
Yeah, like Jesus Christ. That was like the fucking Karate Kid going on in Andy's front room. Yeah, he ends up with like the crook of his knee wrapped around the back of Justin's head, doesn't it? And sort of like pulls him over. Yeah, it ain't good. So Storm makes a cover and makes his own 3 count. Eddie can tell you why that's not official. Yeah. Dean A.S. then sneaks into the ring with a chair and gives Storm a limp shot across the shoulders. And as he's strutting away pleased with himself, Johnny takes the chair and Dean turns around into a hard shot right in the head.
Who the fuck did he annoy backstage to get that one? Because fuck me, that was brutal.
We have been contacted by the Twisted Genius himself with the story behind this. So, he says, my brief for this spot was to give Johnny the worst, weakest chair shot to the back and then turn around acting like Billy Big Bollocks to allow Johnny to clobber me over the head with a proper chair shot. And he then says, bear in mind this was 2001 and the irony that Chris Nowinski was on the card was not lost on me later. I was told to turn around 180 degrees and put my hands up while turning to protect my head. Now, when you're delivering a chair shot, you're supposed to make contact to make a noise and then pull back. Unfortunately, in this instance, Johnny followed through and delivered a full force, full swing chair shot that knocked me silly to give me my first of 4 wrestling-related concussions. Yeah, he says, if anything I do after this chair shot in the match looks a bit odd or out of place, it's because I had no idea what I was doing and have absolutely no memory of it. He says, Johnny and I are still good mates to this day, by the way, and I bear him no ill will with regards to what happened. He says, my friend Rich, who I travel with, tells me that we stopped off at a 24-hour Tesco on the way back down to Brighton to get some food, and the sight of me concussed, confused, and wandering around the supermarket remains one of the funniest things he's ever seen. However, the scary thing was that for the next 3 days, I seemed to completely lose my short-term memory. I vaguely remember being useless at work on the Monday, so the show was on the Friday. But the worst thing of all, and the thing that really seemed to jonk me back into reality, came on that Monday evening. I was going out to a pub in Brighton, and while waiting for the bus, I thought I really ought to go and get some cash out from the cash machine up the road. This really is 2001. So I withdrew some money, went to put it in my wallet, only to find that I'd already taken out that exact sum of money 5 minutes previously, as evidenced by the time on the receipt. In the time it had taken me to walk from the cash machine to the bus stop, I'd completely forgotten doing it. I think the thing started to return to normal by the Tuesday, but I couldn't say for sure for obvious reasons. He says, as you already know, I'm currently off work, long-term sick with migraine and headache-related issues. However, an MRI I had last year showed that I've got no lasting damage to my brain from my various concussions, thankfully. He then says, keep up the good work with the podcast. It's always a great listen. So there you go. That is the story of how little Johnny Storm concussed Dean Ayers.
Love you, Dean. Please don't worry anything bad we say. But yeah, you look like
he's
you
got
were...
a thick skin. I have known Dean since about 1995. Dean's got a thick skin, and he can give as good as he gets.
Cool. Okay, Dean, you you clearly could see the concussion on you after this.
Yeah,
Man. My God.
it's pretty obvious. So we better wrap this up. Richards avoids a moonsault, turns a wheelbarrow into his cross-faced chicken wing, and gets the submission. After the bell, Justin keeps the hold on until Nikita runs in to limply kick him to make him break it, and then Scott Parker hits the ring to see the heels off, and Nikita's music plays for some reason. We're winners, 1, 2, 3, says Dean into the camera after a match his man won by submission, so he is most definitely concussed. And then over the credits, we hear Johnny Storm's music from the building play as he sings it live over the house mic.
This finish felt very flat. The finish of this felt very flat, and so you were
I get
saying,
what they were trying to do.
So you were saying as well that this was on the same card as the tag, right? Yeah. I could kind of I would have rather they had switched it around, because it did feel again this was just a very, obviously don't get me wrong, you need to have your heel win somehow and get your kind of shine again or your heat again at that point, but it just felt very, very flat.
It is very weird. Like, it doesn't feel like, so they know like this is how long they've got, but this doesn't feel like the end of the season. Like, it feels like these 2 episodes accidentally aired the wrong way around, and it's only the commentary that basically tells you they didn't.
Yeah, because it's just again, it's like, because with the Scott Parker bit and because he mentioned Scott Parker obviously coming out and stuff like that, and then Nikita coming out, is just like, right, okay, this is these clearly have happened before each other, but in the wrong order that they're showing on the thing.
So this did happen before the tag match, but the tag was the main event, and this was the semi-main.
Okay.
I would say after following just in a minute and fucking Mikey Whitwright Jr. fucking breath of fresh air. Justin Richards, you know what you're getting, Mr. Ronseal. Yeah. That's all I've got to say. He's just very good. Johnny Storm always holds his end up of the bargain.
Yeah, I kind of like the story of this. I like the story of this match as like, if Johnny is able to get free and start moving around, he's on top. But if Justin can get hold of him, get him in a hold, he's on top.
Yeah.
And I love the glee with which he was applying those headlocks and like yelling at the crowd about them.
Yeah. Plus, as I mentioned earlier, fucking the Lionel Richie jokes. I did love the end of my notes. Fucking when Justin Richards won, I put dancing on the ceiling and how old is it young for? Yeah, no, I thought it was very good.
Yeah, Mark Priest was really good with that. This was a good show. A decent show. We had, Mikey Whitwright versus Justin Credible for your ECW audience, and then we had 1, 2, 3 Kid and Kurt Angle in the main. All worked out all well. If it was like a cosplay show, it would be great. But no, Justin Richards again is really, and I think he's enjoying the heel work, and it's clear because there's that improvement from obviously when we've seen him before as being kind of just bland babyface guy. But I enjoyed him as a Chris wrestler, and Johnny is one of those ones when you're talking to the Super Rewinder. It really is a case of the opponent needs to be just as good or on the kind of indie level as Johnny to make it work. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, you'll notice he hit the good one on George Castano. It was smaller than Justin Richards. Yeah.
George Castano and him is like looking in a mirror and just kind of like wondering if they're the same person or not, just with different.
I thought, like, apart from the botch and the concussion, like this was fine. Like, it's nothing to write home about, but like, it's a decent, solid match.
Yeah.
And so we come to what they call the end of series special. Taped at Crunch 2002 on February the 1st, 2002 at Broxbourne Civic Hall. Welcome to the first of the bendings of the rules here on Nothing Can Like It. This never actually aired on TV. It's an hour long, and it's formatted like a TV show with ad breaks and such, but it was only ever released on VHS. And we're covering here because it was advertised as a finale, even though it feels oddly disconnected from everything we've watched so far. This is like alternate dimension FWA.
Yeah.
So we go straight into the jaundiced opening titles, and then immediately several new things happen at once. We see the debut of the ECW on TNN style brick wall entrance set.
Liked it.
And we hear a fast-talking, charisma-free Geordie introduce himself as Paul St. James.
Who the fuck are these jokers?
And then he is heelishly interrupted by a second voice calling himself Nick London. We might as well completely shatter kayfabe from the beginning. Nick London is in fact referee Andrew Coyne, doing his Midlands heel character, just with a different name.
No.
Eddie, did you not know this?
Who the fuck are these jokers? Paul St. James and Nick London. Where is Mark Priest? We're here for Dean Ice is here. I was 100% sure that Nick London was Dean Ice.
Eddie, you and me, you're like on the same page here because not these shows, but when I've reviewed like FWA adjacent shows before, I've always thought Nick London was Dean Ayas until
Really?
I think it might have been Kieran corrected me on it.
Firstly, they don't sound anything alike.
No, bollocks, they do.
One's from Brighton and one's from Coventry, I think. Dean would most definitely use his real name on commentary. He's not going to hide behind a fucking fake name.
Don't try and fucking gaslight me here. It's Dean Ice pretending he's someone else being Nick London.
It definitely isn't. I have no idea who the other bloke is. I asked around, and one of my sources simply replied, "Who?"
He seems like he's just been like it is like a punter who's just been brought in and told to do commentary, a la the Ogdens at Tidal.
Hey.
To be fair, the Ogdens at Tidal were better than this guy.
We are going to have to get used to Nick London. He is sticking around for a long time.
Well, I mean, I assume so because he's Dean Ayas.
No. Here comes Dean Ayas to that lovely bouncy old school theme. They call him the leader of the old school, which probably came as a surprise to both Dino Scarlo and Drew McDonald. Don't ever put too much stock in what Nick London says, by the way. He was frequently wrong. He could just talk for an hour.
Kieran,
yes.
Quick question. Is there any story behind why Mark Priest is gone here?
Yes. Tell us.
Yeah, I don't know if I can tell it at the moment. So, this was taped before, but aired after what we're going to talk about on the next episode.
Right.
Okay.
And it will probably be easier to get into that on the next episode.
Okay.
So Dean calls out Doug Williams, who has got his belt back off Robbie Brookside. Williams snatches the mic and he tells us he has a match against Christopher Daniels, which has nothing to do with the old school, new school feud. So you get your ass back to the dressing room pronto. 4 minutes into the show, I noticed the hard cam is massively on the piss. It looks like one ring post is shorter than all the others, and I kept expecting people to just tumble to the bottom left of my TV screen. It's awful. Aya says this match has got everything to do with old school, new school, because he knows Doug Williams better than anyone else. He says they debuted on the same show, which is true, and they've travelled the roads together for hours and hours. They've had in-depth conversations about the wrestling business and about Doug's matches. So who was the first person that Chris Daniels called when he decided to come and fight Williams for the FWA title? Dean Ayas, of course. He says they talked tactics last night over a lovely curry, man, and Dean spilled the beans on every Doug Williams secret, and he then introduces Christopher Daniels to the ring. By my count, Christopher Daniels is the 17th former UWA wrestler we've seen on the show.
Hey.
Not wrestler, on-screen personality, let's say.
Yeah.
Paul St. James calls him a former New Japan star, former WWF star, and a WCW wrestler. Christopher Daniels had 7 televised WWF matches. He lost every single one of them, and the longest one went 7.5 minutes.
all on metal, weren't they?
Metal or jacked?
There was also some Shotgun Saturday Night was still going at that point, or maybe it was just called Shotgun. But yeah, he was also on those. Yeah, it was all the jobber shows, and he jobbed on the jobber shows. So Daniels, this is his first appearance in the company. Ralph has already made him a custom theme, which he comes out
looks
to.
The part. He looks the part already, man.
He says Doug Williams is undefeated in the FWA, but not undefeated against the Fallen Angel. He brings up the April 1999 match they had for the UWA, which Daniels won, and while probably being the worst match these two ever had against each other, might have been the best match the UWA ever put on.
Correct. So that were early doors, though, weren't it?
That was the Crystal Palace tapings. That was in like the first run of stuff we covered. Yeah. Doug being undefeated in the FWA isn't true, by the way. He lost a tag match in February 2000 with Jody as his partner to Johnny Storm and Guy Thunder still using his Leon Murphy name. And lost in April 2001 to former ECW wrestler Nova.
Just find Nova funny.
Probably because Nova's just doing a whole load of moves he'd never seen before. So Daniels insults the mothers of the front row and says he's going to repeat history, pin Doug again, and take the FWA title back to California as a favour to the old school. Well, Williams wants to fight right now, and he pulls his shirt off, but referees Andy Coyne, Tony Giles, and the returning Steve Linsky get between them. Why is Linsky wearing chinos?
Linsky.
So them pants was like the pants my dad used to wear. He was like into his light brown trousers or anything that shade.
Yeah, it's a man in his 50s. He's going for a pub lunch.
Yeah, I always remember you saying on Must See Matches about Sergeant Slaughter and his slacks and his Uncle Knobhead slip-ons. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, AS whispers in Daniel's ear and he agrees to back off. And then we have a fancy Adobe Premiere transition from 2002, and it's time for The New Breed versus Ulf Herman and a mystery partner. London says Ulf was originally supposed to team with our old mate Cruise, but Dino Scarlo attacked him on the way to the building and will be supplying a mystery partner who London thinks will be Scarlo himself. What actually happened is that Cruz interrupted the opener between Chris Justice and Raj Ghosh, who were on the same side last time we saw them. Why is there a thumbs up appearing on my screen? This thing is fucking with me again. I need to work out what it is I say. So Cruz interrupted this match, laid the pair of these two out, and then challenged the Breed for the tag title with Ulf as his partner. Scarlo attacked him and said the old school would provide Ulf's partner instead. Ulf Herman, nearly 7 foot of human ferocity, says Paul St. James.
This Geordie guy, anything he says, I burst out fucking laughing. There's
no charisma. There's nothing to him.
But there's like comments he says like during things. Like
we'll get to some of them.
Oh.
Yep. Ulf has stolen Flash Barker's Terminator coat and ripped the sleeves off it. We go to an ad break, and when we come back, Nick London actually popped me where he says, "Welcome back to FWA TV. If you just joined us, let me bring you up to speed. The New Breed are gonna die."
Yeah, I was like, "That's great. That's like perfect. Like welcome ad break."
Yeah. So the Breed double up on Ulf as he enters the ring. Ash's low drop kick is hilarious. It looks like he's trying to do. It looks like he's trying to do like the Liu Kang kick.
Oh
like
my god! Was this the step up knee?
No. This is just the first thing they do, where they to try and like sandwich drop kick him. It's awful. Yeah. And then O Fortuna rings out through Broxbourne Civic Hall as Drew McDonald enters the match. So it is the New Breed versus Ulf Herman and Drew McDonald for the FWA tag title. The lifeless Geordie claims he could bed Vixen within 15 minutes. I would like to see him fucking try.
Imagine the fucking lines there. Fucking hell.
Because the Newcastle guy says that, and then the other one, D-Nice, Nick London, Andy Coyne says that he would die and be in the hospital if he did it. And I was just like, I just laughed at the Geordie because I don't know what it was about this guy.
He's very bad. The big heels batter the Breed with Ash legal until Ash manages a bulldog off the middle rope and tags Curve, who hits some kicks to Drew and a shining wizard that the commentary call the Jap knee trap. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. All breaks up the pin. Drew comes back in and tags Herman, who cracks off with the... no, he doesn't. Herman doesn't crack off. He cracks Curve with a chair, as usual, right in front of the ref. Yep. He kicks Ash off the apron, powerbombs Curve for a 2 count. London says, if I was Ash, I'd get back on a plane and go home. Right. I did some research. Cage Match says that Ash is from Chingford. Google Maps says that Chingford is a whopping 23-minute drive from Broxbourne Civic Hall.
Well, maybe he needs a private plane, I guess, you know? Just that.
It'd take longer to taxi and take off than it would to just drive home.
Up, down. There we go. Save the environment.
Yeah. I mean, you've flown like... You must have flown like Scotland to London before, right?
Yeah.
Like that is an up-down plane journey.
It's like you're up and then you're down.
Yeah,
and
you take off, you have a bus ride, and then you land.
Yeah, you can't even fall asleep that much because by the time you wake up, by the time you even pretend you're about to go to sleep, you're up. Yeah. But there's
I legitimately had a flight from, I think it was Stansted to Dundee, that was shorter than my current commute across London.
Yeah. I need to say as well, because if I don't do it now, we mentioned about the chair. But again, that just shows that Steve Linsky has so much ring rust from not being a ref, you know, because he's been away for so long doing whatever he's doing, maybe allegedly stealing something or not getting something to a place in Blackburn. I can't comment on that.
Not yet. Another year, maybe.
Still got a lot of time before whether he did it or not. If the glove does not fit or the ring does not fit the venue, you must quit. I don't know. But just again, like, it's every FWA match, no rules. Are these refs just here for the sake of counting it in that set?
Yeah. It all gets a bit too much. We've been watching ECW. Which, I mean...
The fucking entrance ramp. Someone loves ECW in this FWA, and the imports they've booked as well.
I'm not going to deny it. It was an influence when I was making the TV, an influence on me when I was making the TV. And ECW did a lot of what it did for independent promotions was, if they can do this on national television or on this kind of stage, it means we can too. Like that grubby aesthetic just meant you didn't have to put production value into stuff anymore.
Does IS do you think IS is kind of taking stuff from Cyrus the Virus then, you think?
I don't know. No, so he's been a heel manager for a long time. I don't think there's much of a Cyrus influence at all.
Because I don't know I know his history obviously from kind of like the FWA in the standard point of view.
Yeah,
he'd never been UWA or anything else, had he?
No, he wasn't UWA, he was Hammerlock.
Ah, okay.
For a long time. He was the Hammerlock ring announcer for ages, and then I don't know his exact history. I'll have to ask him. I'm pretty sure he'd done like heel manager in Hammerlock as well before coming here. So Curve continues to get his shit stoved in, including Herman chucking him over the railings simply to slam him on the wooden floor. And it seemed weird to me they sacrificed a whole side of seating to have the merch stand inside the room. Whereas every show I went to at Broxbourne Civic Hall, they put seats there and the merch stuff was out in the foyer and the bar.
Yeah.
Curve gets chucked back. Did either of you ever get to Broxbourne for anything?
Yeah, I was there for Dragon Gate, the one where I think it was Nation sort of like bit there, and when they had like Haskins and what's it called, Marty Skirl sort of thing. Before Progress Chapter 14.
Yeah.
No, I mean I've seen the videos. I've got tapes or DVDs of stuff from Broxbourne, but I've never.
Yeah. Okay. I just wondered. So Curve gets flung back in and hit with a wheelbarrow / Celtic Crusher combo and pinned. And your new FWA Tag Team Champions are Ulf Herman and Drew McDonald. This is very popular with Mr. Ogden.
I was fucking dancing round my living room when these fuckers won. Proper team. Absolute proper team, mate.
I felt this was really just writing. This felt very much like they were writing off the New Breed for a while, which I'm assuming may have been the case.
No, they weren't writing off the New Breed, because my first FWA show was after this, and I'm sure they were on that. Because
it just felt like they got their absolute arses kicked.
Yeah. No, they're in the... Oh, fuck me. So, there is a show. There's the next show we are going to talk about. That is sort of not really an FWA show, but we'll get to that. And then the next actual FWA show after that, the tag team titles are vacant and are won by the UK Pitbulls in the Tag Team Turmoil opener, which also includes the New Breed. So they weren't written off for anything.
I've had a look at who's in this Tag Team Turmoil, and
Yep.
there's some names there.
Yeah, you will probably look at the same card as I am. That was the first FWA show I went to.
Okay.
Yeah.
You poor soul.
Yeah, I've got no notes about the quality of this match. This was just an extended squash. This was the Breed just getting their asses kicked by two big blokes.
Kieran, I would say one notable note out of mine was, did his powerbomb and only got out. I did put the bag of shite Breed are going to win this, aren't they?
You were expecting like someone to interfere, and then like one of the New Breed gets...
weren't it? I was just worried. You know what? These two monsters are just going to get outsmarted by these two pricks.
Modern wrestling has ruined you.
It has.
So we have a little ad break. Well, not really an ad break. They just put up the ad break card. There are no actual ads, obviously, because, didn't go on telly. It was a VHS. And then Jody Fleiss versus Flash Barker.
Oh, yes.
Barker is bothered by the old school sucks chance, but very easily just shoves Jody around and clamps on a headlock. In response to London calling Jody a kid, Paul St. James says, "You gotta start somewhere. I don't think wrestlers come out of the womb at 35 years old."
I popped so much.
Yeah, and I wrote, Ian Disciple did, and he was only 26.
By the way, the London doing his accent or whatever the feck he's trying, and then the way he goes on about because I don't know whether he's a heel or a face. There was one point where I thought both commentators were trying to be heels, and I was like, this is just not going to work.
Yeah.
And then Nick London really wants to wank off about headlocks because he's like, "Oh yes. Yeah, headlock, yeah, yeah." I'm just like, Christ.
It annoyed you so much. It annoyed me so much. Excuse me, that I didn't actually write it down. But yeah, he was like the headlock orgasms. Yeah, I do believe that kept up for a while. Anyway, Jody escapes an orgasmic headlock and speed things up, like running the ropes, but Flash catches him with a series of overhand chops in the corner. Flash uses his agility to come back and messily gets a 2 off an O'Connor roll. There is a definite edit in the spinning leg lariat that sends him over the top rope to the floor. Jody baseball slices Flash over the railings and hits him with a huge springboard moonsault, ending up in the second row himself. In the ring, Flash begs off and uses Jody's waistband to pull him into the turnbuckles, but Flash is quickly coming back with a spinning leg lariat, handspring elbow. He takes too long going for a second one, though, and Flash catches him round the waist, walks him out to the middle of the ring, and German suplexes him onto his face.
Fucking brilliant, this. It launches it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Jody escapes one military press, but gets clotheslined and then pressed again and hurled over the top rope back into the front row onto the collection of Alex's trainees, who none of them sell having a man thrown at them and chant FWA instead. This is the bit that got me. Flash then follows this up with a somersault dive off the top rope, wiping out Jody, the boys, and at least 6 fans/trainees. So they have a little fight around ringside, and then back inside, Barker gets a 2 count off a press into a Michinoku driver. Fleisch comes back by whacking him in the head with the chair that has mysteriously appeared in the ring. So that is 2 matches in a row with chair shots to the head in front of Linsky.
Kieran, one of my notes was, this isn't no DQ. It's like, what the fuck's going on?
No. Incompetent. If they had a panel for refs, he would have been sent to it after the first one and suspended. I just don't get it. Don't get it. Just don't get it. I don't get
it. Eddie would be terrible on V.A.R, wouldn't he? Linsky.
Oh, well, I can't say much more about what else he can be terrible at, but yeah, probably would have been terrible at it as well. To be fair, it's making them look incompetent. And again, if it is a case of no matches or all matches are no DQ, then explain that at the beginning of the entire thing. Otherwise, I'm just gonna get annoyed. The way the Geordie guy also says, "Asahi moonsault." Absolutely.
We're going to get to something later on.
Asahi moonsault, lad, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Linsky V.A.R. Van avec ring. So Jody follows up. Jody follows up with a moonsault chair sandwich and a springboard dropkick that blasts the chair into Flash's face. This looked brutal, and I'm pretty sure I put it in the Jody music video they had me make a couple of years later. Flash kicks out of both of these things, then gets the chair up when Jody goes for a clothesline off the top, hitting him in the arm. He then Pillmanizes the arm with a leg drop on the chair and slaps on an arm lock to get the submission. Ignoring Linsky Magoo merrily watching chair action unfold in front of him, this was up there with the better matches we've seen, even if just for all the wild stuff into the crowd.
My star rating for this was equal as a Jane Walker Brawl, 3.5 stars. It was as a wrestling match, it was a lot of fun. This going on.
It's just sort of like entertaining insanity.
Yeah.
It's two made guys having a really good made as far as characters and that are concerned, a really good match, a really interesting and fun match, and you kind of have an investment in what's going on. It's not like Scotty Rock versus Jack Xavier where you don't really have any investment in it. No, good, he bleeds at the end, but okay. Whereas with this, you have some investment in it because it's advancing the story.
After our third fake ad break, it's our main event. Christopher Daniels with Dean Ayers versus Doug Williams for the FWA title. Dean has gained a neck brace somehow since the opening segment. I don't know how. Look at that hook. That's the sort of thing that brings 6 to your throat, says Paulson James. Is this better or worse than the Drew McDonald impression?
I can't wait for the other comment you're about to make with his accent.
My first proper note is the opening chain wrestling here is lovely stuff.
Yes.
Like, these two are so good at this kind of thing, and they have natural chemistry as well. London talks about how it only takes 3 seconds to win or lose a wrestling match, and Paulson James audibly pops him with, "That's about how long you have sex for." They do a long rope running spot, ending with Daniels pushing off a Revolution DDT attempt and putting up his jukes for a fight. They do a long game of who can hold on to a headlock until Doug turns Daniels' back suplex escape attempt into a crossbody and picks up the pace a little. He's deviating from the headlocks with a few strikes. Daniels, though, reverses a second Revolution attempt into a Manhattan drop and using a neck breaker to take over, working over the head and neck. Back from our fourth and final fake break, Doug avoids a corner charge and gets in a flurry of forearms, the Harley Race jumping knee, and a sweet brainbuster for a near fall. He goes for what they call the cheesy new school corner 10 punch, which has been around at minimum since the 70s. And then Daniels gets a knee up when he tries to rush him in the opposite corner. Nick London calls Christopher Daniels' neck breaker drop an STO variation, telling me he's never seen an STO, and then goes on to describe a crossface in excruciating detail.
Yeah.
And what you can see here is the fingers interlocked around his head, like pushing the knuckles against the nose and pulling back and really hurting his neck and his head. It's dreadful.
One thing that I'm going to note here as well, what was mentioned on commentary about Doug Williams, is a champion of Judo. I see you know your Judo well.
Look at the headlock here. One of the things as well, we've got to give praise to St. John or St. James, whatever his name is, the Geordie lad. His dulcet tones telling you need to go to an ad break. With Mark Priest to be like, we've got to go, and then this guy's just like, we need to go to an ad break. Like, okay,
yeah, back. Pretty much. Williams gets out of this, and actually the way he gets out is quite good. So Dinas is trying to pull the rope away from him, but Williams gets hold of it and pulls it out of his hands, which rockets Dean back across the ringside area. Daniels hits a fisherman suplex for a 2 count before Doug gets the boots up on a corner charge and dumps him nuts first on the top rope. This is the opening for Doug to hit the comeback trail with forearms, a flapjack, the bomb scare knee drop to the back of the head, and a double arm superplex that wipes them both out. Daniels then comes back with the Blue Thunder, and this fucking hell, and an Uranage, which Paul St. James pronounces, "Are you wrong?"
You wrong.
You wrong.
You wrong, Lord.
Jesus Christ. I did promise on Twitter I was going to bury this, but that's about as much as I can do. Daniels then hits the best moonsault ever, but Williams kicks out of all of this. The Anarchist ducks a clothesline and a back elbow, and they almost strangle each other with simultaneous clotheslines that they hit so fast. They get back up and trade forearms and cradle variations, also at quite high speed. And then Daniels lucha paseos Doug into a corner, allowing him to spring off the middle turnbuckle and into the Revolution DDT. So 3rd time of asking, he's hit it. Williams, though, takes too long to cover and only gets an arm across the chest, so Daniels is able to kick out. Daniels reverses an Irish whip into the Angel's wings, but Williams just about kicks out. Daniels was really kind to him here. He gave him a full cover and hooked the leg and let him kick out. This wasn't like the slow crawl over and only getting an arm over the chest. Like, he let him kick out of his primary or secondary finisher, like, quite strong with a full cover. So Williams kicks out of this. Daniels tries for a German suplex. Doug reverses, runs him into the turnbuckles, and after a short struggle where Daniels is trying to hang on to the corner, rolls him back out into the Chaos Theory and gets the clean pin. And then after the match, because he's an indie import and wants the fans to like him enough to get another booking, Daniels shakes Williams' hand and puts the belt on his shoulder.
Ooh.
Leaving aside the dreadful commentary and one camera angle that looks like a nuclear bomb has gone off, this, to me, was the best match we've watched of the whole run.
Yeah.
This is a proper main event. This was better than Williams versus Fleisch from the first taping.
And these two have only fought once before.
They have had one singles match before.
Okay.
And actual fact, I'm trying to think if they don't cross paths in that 10-man thing in the UWA, so they've only had the one singles match. I'm trying to think if they had any other like tags and stuff before. And like in 1999 when the UWA stuff was happening, like they were still kind of finding themselves, but here they've got it figured out.
It just got me thinking then, Kieran, what would have Christopher Daniels fought and Mad Dog McPhee in that 10 match?
I think they come together again. The next time would be in a singles match would be, I think, ROH Glory by Honor, from what I remember.
So
2002.
They've had something like, it spanned like, no, I think they've had something like 18 matches over 19 years. The best for my money are the March 22nd, 2003 match in Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. And there's a tag match in Bolton in August 2003, which is Williams and Jody versus Daniels and Johnny Storm, which I think, if it's on it might be on the Doug Williams or Johnny Storm profile episodes that were like made in the run up to the TWC season. I think we might get to see that during this project at some point. Isn't it funny how Doug Williams has consistently had the best matches across all of these shows? It's almost like he's good at this wrestling, Lark.
He's one of, there's a reason why he's why he's been around for so long. He's a great worker, clearly still going. Well, I think has he retired again? I don't know.
He has now officially retired. Yeah,
but he's been around for. Yeah, he's been around for like years, and he's worked for like nearly every major company. So it's pretty clear to see that he's, and in this point, because he went and did what, King of the Indies, or did one of the.
No, he didn't win King of the Indies. I think
he did it. He went to it.
He went to it. Yeah.
And he did.
And it was our guy is breaking, is being like put on with the best guys in the US.
And what was the indie tournament that everyone was? It was the ECCW Super 8. Was he part of that? Yeah.
Super 8.
I don't know actually.
But I mean, it's clear that obviously at this time he's like, you know, clearly one of like, you know,
he's breaking
the
out. He's breaking out
of the country.
Yeah, yeah. Which would become a problem when he kept getting booked for Ring of Honor and Noah when we needed him for FWA shows. Did you love this as much as I did, Eddie?
Yes, I loved it.
Yeah.
Again, it was one of those ones where it's two workers who clearly have the kind of product, who have who are the finished article in essence.
Yeah.
Coming together and showing us good wrestling. And you know, it's something completely different from what you see. And when it's a Doug Williams match, I think the only Doug Williams match that maybe hasn't been to a good standard is maybe the one with Kerry Caballero. But other than that,
the Robbie Brookside draw was a bit kind of underwhelming. But I think I put it like, if I had been to like a Premier Promotion show or an All Star show and seen that match, I would have been happy. But like, it didn't feel enough for an FWA show, and they kind of fucked it with that stupid time limit stipulation.
When you want to give who in essence technically your champion, one of the best American wrestlers or one of the most underrated independent American wrestlers of the time, you know, a match together, you know it's going to work well. So yeah, I thought this was great.
It's one of them, innit? Doug Williams seems to. It's not his personality that carries him through; it's his wrestling skills.
Yeah,
I do feel as a champion. One of them in Old South, who was God, these two mesh well together. It's like, you know, the partners for life, and they've only met for the second time. They've just got that instant chemistry and what have you, and going to third base straight away. One thing they put at the end of the match was, we're back in the game here, best wrestling we've had, and you wanted to charge through walls after watching this. I know Eddie mentioned it earlier, we'll probably say this in the summation of this episode, it's a fucking light years ahead of what we reviewed in the last episode.
It really does feel like a whole nother world, doesn't it? Like it happened, like this is 6 weeks after that show we saw before. So this is the 1st of February, and the other stuff was from December the 14th, and it feels completely different to that Acton show.
It feels like there's been no ownership since, and someone has looked at it and went, right, okay, I want something, you know, a little bit more. I want the ECW like entrance, you know. I want a lot of differences. I don't just want a one-man Joey Styles commentary booth. I want, I'm making kind of a lot of changes, and it does feel like, you know, years have passed, but the same thing, but FWA is in essence frozen its all belts and stuff like that and just made changes. It's as soon as I saw the Jaundice intro, I was like, right, we're back again. It'll be in some venue and I'll hear Mark Priest, and then Mark Priest was gone, and then you got
the shock of your life.
Oh, I got my shock of my life, like
we're gonna get so many angry DMs from Geordies.
Oh well, they can scream unintelligently while they parade in their blood money in their stadium, I guess. Fuck off from your Progress ownership and go fucking commentate for the Saudis. But anyway, moving on.
What's going on?
Sorry, I'm just shooting on somebody.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it just felt like light years. Light years had changed. The company had kind of made a completely different thing, but the champions were still the same, and the look and everything was different. For me, I can understand why it maybe went unaired, because if I was someone who was watching the normal product and was waiting for the best of, or the kind of what we're going to show, I'd be kind of wondering what on earth's going on.
I suspect this was never intended to air, and I think they realized they had a great match on their hands in terms of like Doug Williams versus Christopher Daniels, and they wanted a quick way to get it out without having to edit the entire show.
Right.
So don't forget, there's no live mixing. FWA never, apart from one show, which we'll talk about soon, FWA never did anything live. Everything was post-produced. And back in these days, this was all shot on tape. So that is a massive pain in the arse. You're looking at 3 or 4 cameras of 3 hours of tape each that you have to capture in real time, and then you've got to sync it all up and edit it. I know because I did it a lot. And yeah, I think this was just, they wanted to try and capitalize on, we have got this match that we want people to see, because Daniels is becoming a name on the indie circuit. They can maybe, like, I don't know, get tapes over to the US or whatever. And then again, don't forget, no DVD. It all goes out on videotape. The world moves a lot slower back in 2001. It's a bigger place. 2002 even. Yeah, I think this was the most expedient way for them to get a critically acclaimed match out and for people to see and rave about it and get buzz about the company.
And I can get that, and I can understand it.
Kieran, I was going to say, I know we briefly touched on it, but that venue, great for wrestling.
Broxbourne,
Broxbourne City Hall. And
it's Britain's Corrigan Hall.
I did put one of my notes was like the Mecca Broxbourne Civic Hall. One thing I liked about it was the actual lighting, whereas everything else, a lot of the episodes, what we have.
Acton look horrible.
You're just very too bright and what have you.
I mean, like Acton and Harrow. So at this point, Mark Sloan doesn't have that trust that he would have for 20 years. That lighting rig, right? All they do is just like they just leave the house lights on. So that's why Acton looks so bright. That's why Harrow looks so bright. I don't think they've actually had a lighting rig since the Portsmouth Community Centre stuff, unless they're at Broxbourne where they just use the theatre lights. Broxbourne's a brilliant building for wrestling. We will go back there a lot over the course of this series. Andy, do you have any thoughts on like this run as a whole? So Frontier Wrestling on Portsmouth TV is over. We've seen all of them. Any thoughts about that as a series in general?
I think as a series, it's very similar to UWA, where it's like it has a couple of good episodes, and then it'll throw in a shit one. And it's not it's not all golden. I will say that.
No.
I think as we've gone along, there's nuggets here and there. I think we mentioned on a few of the episodes, you know who the good ones are, which is Johnny and Joey, Flashback, Doug Williams, Scary Drew, Old Furman's now come in, Show, you're going to steal it. And they're your obvious characters, and then get Justin Richards, who I think all of our favourites, and then you'll get the new breed who turn up and just some it's sort of gob rights and bad wrestlers on this one. Disciple, he's one thing that hasn't been mentioned though. This set of tapings, Dino Scarlo, where's he?
Yeah, he only did the run-in in that tag, didn't he? I'm just having a look.
It feels like Dean Ayas has taken him up. Like
it seems. I mean, especially when they announced him as being the leader of the old school.
And in fact, Dino doesn't have a match on the Crunch show at Broxbourne.
I've just got to say, I've had a look at that Broxbourne card, and I am heavily disappointed that we did not get to see one of those matches.
Is it the hardcore flag match?
It is absolutely the flag on a pole hardcore rose match between Johnny Storm and Jorge Castano. I am, however, thankful that they did not show us quite possibly what would be in the drizzling shits, which is Mark Sloan defending the FW All England title against Ian Disciple. And clearly the reason why Dean Ice had his neck brace was because there was a match with Nikita and Scott Parker versus Dean Ice and Mark Sloan. So I'm very thankful we didn't get that either as well.
I can tell you that Dino Scarlo only had one more match in the FWA, and it wasn't taped for TV, so we don't ever get to see it. I saw it though because it was the main event of the first FWA show I went to.
So does he no longer have any matches but still appears as like an on-screen character, or is this Dino about to go away?
So he will return as an authority figure, but I don't think he's I don't know if we ever get to see him again, to be honest, because all of that happened in 2003 when there was no TV.
Wow.
Oh.
Eddie, do you have any thoughts on the full run as a whole?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was good. It's good. So there's some good stuff in it. I think the old school versus the new school was quite good. I thought Chris Harvard did a lot to show himself up here. And then I thought, there was just the only dregs was again Mikey Whipwreck against Justin Incredible, but then again Justin Richard, the main story that's being the crux of everything is old school versus new school. I don't think there's no other stories that are properly being established that the three of us could say, oh, we care about that. Yeah. Because everything's being dragged into the one thing more than anything. Yeah. I think,
but it means the promotion has a focus.
Yes, exactly. I think moving on to surprising me with the finale one, and realizing that there had been so many changes took me back a little bit. But then the matches that I got to see was the Newbury basically being buried, a really decent match with Johnny Storm in it, and then Doug and Christopher Daniels. And I get it if they're trying to show off that, oh, look, we've got it. Because it worked well. I mean, the Doug Williams FWA title run has been quite a good run. I think he's faced quite a number of interesting. He faced Carino, didn't he? Yeah. Or is it someone else faced?
No, it was Scott Parker versus
Scott Parker versus Scott Parker got the opportunity. Doug, and it's good to see Doug in a match, and again they all work well. So I thought these were good. I was just very taken aback when the finale seemed to have someone else.
Seems to have been teleported from another show entirely.
Yeah, it felt like it was a British indie show that was based on an ECW ripoff with the entrance, but then was still kind of using FWA storylines, and then was like, well, we're not going to bring back Mark Priest, so we may as well just get a Geordie off the street and a guy who's impersonating Dean Ias as Andy Coyne. But
you're not going to let that go.
I enjoyed it. No, because it definitely it sounds
nothing like him.
Tommy Dick Fingers in the corner there is agreeing with me, and he had the same wavelength as I had.
It's because you're weird and from north of Luton. You don't understand our accents. You don't.
Oh yeah, what you were going to say? You all sound the same at this point. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I can't tell the difference between you two.
Just have to say Hootsmon the New and Haggis at some point, just to make sure it's different at that point.
Yeah.
I thought, again, if this is the direction the FWA is going in, I'm interested to see what the next kind of time they get a television deal looks like. And that'll obviously be what we'll go into. But so many things that we don't see because, obviously, as you said, they're not on TV at the time.
I'll pull back the curtain. We're gonna bend the rules a little bit. The FWA doesn't officially have television for a little while yet, but I'm exploiting some loopholes, so we're not going to just jump 2 years into the future. The next show we're going to talk about happened just 8 days after this one. So there you go. I think we've said all that can be said about Frontier Wrestling on Portsmouth My TV. Eddie, where can people find you on the internet if you want to be found?
You can find me on Eddie Sideburns on the old Twitter machine under the name of 5-Star Wrestling Sideburns. In the year 2268, we will be creating a 9,084 man tournament that will take place not only on Earth but also in the planets. So please keep an eye on that.
Also in the planets, you heard it here first.
In the planets, not said where yet, and we have offered $1 million to a wrestler to come out of retirement if they are still around by that point. But and also that's you can find me on this podcast and any other podcast I do.
Okay, and Andy, give us the lowdown on Graps and Claps.
Yeah, so you can follow us on Twitter, X, Oggy Part 3. Also follow Graps and Claps podcast at GCP Podcast 1. We've currently just done a review of Red Pro, Fantastica Mania. Good evening, y'all. which myself and Kieran was at. It was just me and Jeff on the train back from there with some, one Ukrainian beer and one totally awful Ukrainian non-alcoholic beer, which tasted like arse. Absolutely dreadful. So we've got that review, and also coming up soon, we've got book Volume 3, which is Great American Bash 2004. It's the one where Paul Bearer dies in a concrete crypt. And we've got Matty Edwards as ever joining us. Seems to be a running thing with British podcasts at the moment, where we get What Culture's own Michael Hamflett joining us to review the show. So go and check that out soonish.
Tremendous stuff. As for this show, you can find everything to do with that at linktr.ee/FWApod. We are on Twitter and Blue Sky at FWApod and Instagram FWA.pod. I used to have another show. It's now finished, but it's evergreen, I guess. Must See Matches at Must See Matches on Twitter and Instagram and Blue Sky. As for me personally, I'm at Kieran Edits on Twitter. I should probably write a better plugs section than this. That is the end of our. I am going to call this
curtain behind.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to call this the end of our first season. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back soon with a revival, and there's two things you can do about it.
I am the fallen angel. This is what I am. A romantic evil and savior of the damned. I am the son of morning and the sire of night. Once full of a radiant glow, now a dark light. I draw the rule in hell and serve in his name. Flown from the skies, here in hell I reign. My eyes once white with glory, red with the fires of hell. My limbs reflected a light, charred in his fiery cell. God has turned his back on me, pulled down this rain of fire. Crossroads are burning, like a wind's gonna lift me higher. I am the fallen angel, this is what I am. A romantic evil, the savior of the damned. I am the fallen angel, this is what I am. A romantic evil, savior of the